You should never, ever turn off an ad in your Facebook ad account. And today I'm going to explain why. Woo! Controversial point. Let's rock and roll. All right. The principle begins with the idea of expected value. Okay. So as we do often, we're going to come to agreement on the definition of expected value that we're going to use in this video. Expected value is an anticipated average value for an investment at some point in the future. Okay. This has to do with probability. And I'm going to write a formula that we're going to use here. And it's going to look like this. It's going to say that value, okay, times probability over cost minus 1 equals expected value expressed as a percentage. Okay. So we're going to use our friend, the coin, and we're going to come up with a betting model to evaluate the investment opportunity of making a bet on flipping heads or tails on this coin. Very simple one that we all understand the probability of. So let's pretend that we're trying to get to a perfect break-even scenario. It's pretty easy to understand. The value that I offer you is I'll give you $2 for every $1 that you bet. If you guess correctly, the flip of a coin. Well, what's the probability of guessing heads or tails correctly on the flip of a coin? Well, pretty easy, right? 50%, 0.5% of the time, or 0.5 minus 1 equals my expected value expressed as a percentage. So 2 times 0.5 is 1 over 1 minus 1 equals 0, right? Your anticipated average value for an investment in this bet construct at some point in the future is $0. But here's a really important part of this, right? At some point in the future, right? Well, does that mean that that will always be true? That every time I flip the coin in this bet premise, that my expected return or that the value of that bet would be break even or 0? Well, of course not. And so let's illustrate this point. I'm going to flip the coin 5 times. And I'm going to bet heads on every one. We're going to do it under this premise. If I guess correctly, I've invested $1 and I make 2 back. Okay. So 5 bets. Heads off the screen there. Number 1, I made heads. Great. So I have plus $2, right? Now, plus $1. I made $1, right? Invested $1, made $1 in return. Okay. So I'm up 1. Flip number 2. Okay. Oh, heads again. I get plus 1 again. Number 3, I'm guessing heads again. Oh, 3 in a row. Plus 1. Great. Let's go again. Flipped it off the screen there. Tails, minus 1. All right. And finally, tails again, minus 1. So overall, I end up plus 1, not 0. So in these 5 outcomes, okay, I actually ended up, I invested $5. I made $1 in return. I ended up with a 20% return on my money. Hey, what a wonderful bet that was. What an awesome opportunity. Well, if you made the decision of whether or not to flip the coin again on the basis of these outcomes, okay, you would decide that there's a 20% return. I should continue to make the investment. But of course, what will happen over time is that if we know, we would continue flipping, and then eventually the anticipated average value would be $0. I would eventually even out and be break even on that premise, right? This is like a very common principle that we understand about playing blackjack. As an example, has a set of parameters that we can use to determine whether or not blackjack's a good investment. And if we sort of think about this, the value, probability, and cost. Okay. So the probability of winning if you play perfect blackjack is 49.75. You will win 49.75% of the time you will win the hand. So you have 0.4975. And it's a 2-to-1 payout, right? And of course, there are edge cases. There's hitting 21 and all these different examples that sort of help move the house edge, but let's just say I bet $10, I win 20, right? So my cost of my bet is $10. The value is 20. The probability is 0.4975 minus 1. That is going to equal a negative 0.5% return. If I play blackjack long enough, if you were to run a simulation in a computer forever, you would lose 0.5% on your money in total eventually. This is why casinos end up making so much money. It's because, one, people don't play perfectly, so the house edge actually ends up being larger than that. But the game is rigged in their favor, and ultimately they continue to win, and so it's a bad bet. But we've all had great nights where the outcomes differ from the probability, right? So understanding this can help us think about whether or not a decision is a good bet. If we think about expected value calculations for lots of different areas of our life, we can make decisions about the best or most likely thing to occur. Now, okay, Taylor, well, what the heck does this have to do with Facebook? Well, I want you to think that every delivery of an ad is a bet. Okay. And it's a bet that's built on a model. And Facebook tells us this model. They tell us to win at auction. The equation is TV, or total value score, which equals the bid times the estimated action rate times ad quality for user score. Okay. So if we want to win the auction, okay, get delivery into someone's feed, this is how it happens. So the bet then is us fixing an outcome. And this is the key to never having to turn off an ad. The bid is what I, the user, am willing to pay to accomplish my objective. So let's say we're running conversion objective, which is what we should be, and we're running a cost cap, okay, which is going to enable us to never have to turn off an ad. Basically what we're saying is I'm fixing my bid. My bid is $100 for the conversion. So if we rewrite this formula, we can say the total value score, doing some old school algebra, equals estimated action rate times ad quality. That's an A, sorry. Quality equals my bid. Now, think of the bid as me locking this number, saying to Facebook, I only want you to run if the EV is positive, if the expected value of this equation equals my bid, and my bid is what I'm willing to pay. It's the anticipated average value for an investment that I want at some point in the future. That's what my bid is. Okay. This is a fixed number. Again, we're saying it's $100 in this case. Now, what I want us to understand is this idea of estimated action rate. Okay. So in conversion optimization, estimated action rate is made up of two things. Your ECTR, expected click-through rate, and your ECR, your expected conversion rate. These numbers right here, expected. This is a probabilistic model. Okay. In the same way that with flipping a coin, we are sort of operating under 50%, or playing blackjack, we're operating under 0.495 or 4.975. Facebook is using a combination of your historical ad performance, your historical conversion rate, and the user's individual behavior and model for likelihood of purchase to create an ECTR and an ECR for every ad that you run at every moment of delivery. Okay. They are modeling what they anticipate the user to do. They are making a bet about the action, right? And they're making the bet that not just on the individual delivery of each individual ad, it is an anticipated average value on that bet at some point in the future. Okay, this is really important because let's think about the singular delivery of one individual ad. Okay. It's a binary outcome, right? Either the user clicks, it's either click or no click, buy, or no buy. So what that means is that at some rate, the bet is inaccurate. It's incorrect. And you, as the media buyer or the brand owner or whoever, get feedback in the ad account about this, right? You see impressions. So how many times they've made the bet, right? This is the number of bets that Facebook has made on your behalf. Then you see the outcomes, you see both clicks and you see purchases. Now, this is where we make the mistake. Similar to making a decision on the basis of these outcomes, where if we think about flipping a coin and we flipped it 5 times and we saw, 20% of them, I won 20%. I should keep flipping the coin. When we make a decision on the basis of these outcomes, there was 10,000 impressions and I got 100 clicks and 10 purchases, and therefore my ROAS is X. Okay. We circumnavigate all of the modeling about the probability of future value, and we make a decision about the value of this bet on our own with incomplete information. And so as a media buyer, I don't ever want to make a decision on the basis of outcomes. I want to set the expected return, fix the bid, set a cost cap. And then I want to allow Facebook to use their probabilistic modeling to determine whether or not to make the delivery of the ad. So another important point here is that in the process of delivery, there's something known as the breakdown effect, right? Facebook will use this as a graph. And then we know that there's something called optimization. Optimization. Right? And let's just say this is ROAS. These are impressions. Now, of course, the curves don't always look like this, in perfection. And some curves actually look like this, right? And so the model that they would give is that if you make a decision at this point in time, okay, and you take an action here, you're making the action on the basis of this backwards facing data, on the basis of outcomes. But what Facebook is doing is their continued delivery on the ad is the basis of this probabilistic model of the future. And so these future outcomes, which can be disassociated from the past, especially when you're in the middle of the optimization, are what you want to Facebook to make the delivery decision on, not you making the decision on the basis of outcomes. You want to have a probabilistic model in the same way that this would tell you to keep flipping the coin or to stop making the blackjack bet, whatever it might do. This is how these estimated action rates help you to make better decisions. So if I'm running a cost cap, if I'm fixing the expected value that I want out of the ad, the beauty of it is that if the bet doesn't model, Facebook doesn't deliver. And this is why you never have to turn off an ad, is that do not judge the delivery on the ad on the basis of the outcome. In the same way that if you flipped the coin and it came up heads 5 times in a row, you should not say that the next flip is likely to be heads. In fact, we have this rule at CTC that if the ad is delivering, we are going to trust that this is the right bet to make, and we're going to trust the probabilistic model of the future, right? If the bet doesn't model, Facebook doesn't deliver. And so people will often complain with cost caps that they're not getting delivery. And what it means is that the expected value of the bet doesn't match your bid expectation. And that's exactly what you want to happen, is you want Facebook to not deliver the ad if the bet doesn't pencil, right? If the EV doesn't equal your desired outcome, you want it to not deliver. And I don't want humans making these decisions. We're really bad at calculating. The only exception is that if you know for some reason that there is going to be a wildly variable ECR, expected conversion rate, on this ad relative to other ones that you've run in the past. So as an example, when you go to run a sale that Facebook doesn't know is coming, that's going to divert your future data substantially from the past, then you might know something about ECR that the system doesn't. And that's the only time I would ever make this decision. But for the most part, if you set up a cost cap and you fix your bid, you fix the bid, which is an expectation of value. You are defining the EV of the calculation. You will equip Facebook to make a decision about the probability of that coming to life in a way that doesn't require you to use the historical outcomes. This is the way to ensure you don't run around chasing your wind or chasing your tail, chasing the wind, both of those metaphors, any more than you would. I've often referred to this as the roulette run problem, where you'll see somebody who sees a roulette board that shows 5 reds in a row. They'll assume the next number has to be black, but that is not what probability is. And so historical performance in many cases is not indicative of future outcome. And the beauty is we don't even have to do the calculation. If you bid with a cost cap, Facebook does it for you. Never turn off an ad. Never.